What's going on, people? Welcome to another brand new edition of the podcast. And today we're joined by one of the most amazing TV presenters and journalists out there, Michelle Ackerley. How are you? Okay.
I'm very well, thank you. That was a lovely intro, Giorgio.
Thank you. I try now.
That's perked me up for a Monday morning.
Yes, that's what I love to do. How's things? Okay.
Yeah, very well, thanks. It's busy. I mean, this year has been this year and last year has been crazy, hasn't it?
It has.
But for me, I'm really grateful that work is coming in. It's very varied. I've had the opportunity to see family and friends now, which has just been so nice. So yeah, I'm very good.
I'm so glad to hear. I mean, I always love to ask my guests, how has this past 18 months or so been for you? Have you been okay?
Well, yeah, thanks for asking. Health-wise, I've been good, and family and friends too, which is, I'm really grateful for. In terms of work, it's been a crazy old time. Randomly, at the very start of the pandemic, so March 2020, I ended up being quite busy because I was doing a show every day about the pandemic. So we were live every day on BBC One, which was actually quite an amazing opportunity, really, because we were able to interact on a daily basis with everybody, and we were all asking questions at the same time, weren't we? Like, what does this mean, and how do we react to this? So the start of the pandemic, it was this surreal experience for me. I was driving into central London every day, and it was completely just empty, just the streets were so quiet, and then coming home and isolating again, and then going back to work. And then off the back of that, various trips to go abroad for work got cancelled, understandably so, because of the pandemic. So it's been a strange old time. I think we've all basically, especially within my industry, we've had to get used to different ways of working. A lot of the time I'll be chatting and connecting and interviewing people over Zoom and FaceTime and Teams. Do you know what I mean? So it's a weird old world at the minute, but we're muddling through. So yeah, it's not too bad.
I'm just so glad that you're okay, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, how did you? Because, like you said, it was a strange old time for everyone. I mean, for you, how did you find it going from being so busy in the studio and in live to then doing all your work, say, or most of it anyway, from home back to the studio again?
It was a real learning curve, actually. I think, for me as a presenter, one of the things that I really enjoy about my job is having the opportunity to meet people face to face. And part of the interviewing process as well for me is having the proximity to someone, especially if you're in a live scenario and you're able to kind of read their body language. You can tell whether someone might be slightly nervous because they might be, twitching their fingers or moving their feet, and those kind of senses that we rely on within a kind of live situation are very different when it's you're working from home and you're doing things over a screen. So for me, it was learning a different way of working. And there are pros and cons to that in a way. The cons are kind of, as I explained, wanting to have that proximity and to be near somebody. But actually, I learned that you can get a really meaningful and quite a special interview and connect with someone in a different kind of way, even though there's distance. Because I found with certain people, especially if you're doing kind of live things, they can be quite nervous going into a studio environment with cameras all around them, and you're asking them to be so normal and relaxed in an environment which is completely the opposite. Whereas when you're able to chat to people in their home surroundings, and sometimes I'd be doing interviews, the dog would run through shot, or, the husband or the wife would come in with a cup of tea in the background, like, Mary, do you want another? When are we eating? Do you know what I mean? And it actually adds that real touch of real life, which for me was great, because then I'd be able to react to that and be like, oh, who's that? Oh, come on in and have a chat. Spin your camera around. Let's see what room you're in. What are you doing in that space? So actually, I was able to kind of, do a 180 on it and find those moments that actually make you feel more connected and less distant, even though you are, you've got that separation.
It's so true. I could got to be my next question, actually. If you did find that people, compared to being in studio to being at home, if there's like a big difference in contrast in how they would react and answer your questions.
Definitely would. And even things like, you just got to see a different side to people. I remember interviewing one lady, and she was in a garden, and she was taking me around all the different plants she planted that morning. And I've interviewed her a few times, and that was probably my best interview with her, and it's the first time that I've not interviewed her in person. So it just kind of, I think all of us have probably learned to just be a bit more real, and because we've had this one thing that's bonded us all, connected us all in terms of how we're feeling. There's been that other level of the interview process which has come out of it, which has been so fascinating, really.
It has. And I know that you graduated from Manchester University with a degree in psychology, which is incredible, absolutely amazing. And I know I always ask at least one stupid question in my interviews, but do you feel like that kind of helps you in a sense how to read people's body language and how they're reacting and talking to you?
I think that's a great question, to be
Thank you.
honest, and the answer is absolutely yes. I mean, when I studied psychology at university, my main reason for choosing it was because I've always been so interested in people, human behaviour, and psychology as a degree that gave me the opportunity to put some real science and structure behind my interest. And one of my tutors at the time at university, he used to do a lot of stuff within the media. So back in the days, I mean, I'm quite old now, Giorgio, but back in the days when Big Brother first started, it was seen as more of a social experiment. So my psychology tutor used to go on various TV programs and really talk about people's body language and the character profiles within these kind of new reality TV shows that were coming out. And it was at that point I thought, this is actually really interesting, how you can use psychology, observations of people's behavior, and do studies into the science of our psyche and connect that to a creative industry. So when I first started, and I was doing work experience in Manchester BBC, for me, it was just an amazing experience trying to tap into the creative ideas that the different productions were making, but also from a psychological point of view, thinking about human behavior and thinking about how different people perform their tasks, go about their day to day. Within TV, you've got various different personality profiles, from the extrovert who just wants to be in front of everything, to the more of the introvert, very considered, that will sit down and really, be methodical in their creative process. So it's fascinating. It's continued to really inspire me and create those questions, which is great.
That is great. And talk about those introverts and extroverts. I mean, did you find a big difference online as well? Like, with the introverts more outgoing and the extroverts a bit more kind of solemn in their approach and a bit more kind of quiet, or was it the same old way, really?
Again, I think that's a really interesting question. I found a real mix, and I don't think, I think there's people that you probably expect to be maybe introverts a bit more confident online, and extroverts maybe, more of themselves and trying to get more of themselves across online. But actually, it's been a real mixture, because I think, certain people, if they are the type that love being in the center of a group and in the midst of it all, actually then having chats on a computer screen is very, very different. And I've had conversations with people where, when they're sat in front of a screen, and normally they're very bubbly and chatty, they're like, well, where do I look? Or even simple things like actually finding it really off-putting to see yourself back on the screen. And I know there's things that you can do with your settings and stuff, but all those elements which feed into somebody's personality of being an extrovert or an introvert are kind of taken away a bit. And I found personally, you've got to find a new sense of yourself online. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same. You're not behaving in the same way. So interestingly, it's been a bit of both. I find with certain people, the thing that's brought them real confidence is actually being able to sit and have a chat from the waist up and keep their slippers on. Do you know what I mean? And that's actually made them feel far more confident. Like, I've got something next to me that I can kind of look at halfway through the interview and think, yeah, that's perked me up a bit. So it's been a real mixture.
It's so true, because I'm wearing my slippers right now, and I got my.
Me too. There we go.
Here we go. I got mine as well.
Oh yeah, quite similar actually.
Quite less further. But it's so true about that kind of having that kind of essence of kind of familiarity around you. It's like I got my lights around me, I got my kind of Funko toys behind me as well. So I got like things that make me feel really comfortable because I'm very introverted, but yet being able to talk online, like just having chats with people, makes me feel really confident and happy. It's strange, isn't it, how it happens?
It's really strange, and I think that is something again that's really come out through this process. And actually, again, it's the way that we've connected with each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think, oh, actually, I enjoy doing that too. Oh, yeah. Well, if you just turn the camera around, you'll see this absolute state over there. Oh, yeah, me too. Do you know what I mean? All those little things, or like you say, pictures in the background. Like I love that picture in the background.
Oh,
It gives you an essence. It's wicked.
Thank you.
It's
Matthew
wicked.
Superman fan.
Oh my God, that's so funny because I was watching the TV yesterday and I saw like one of the old school Superman films came up as, oh, you could watch this. I was like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna watch that.